The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. White Pine County Tourism and Recreation Board meeting, November 24th, 2020.
Sure, in a minute or so, I would think if we can just give him a minute, everyone.
Okay. I got a 702 number chiming in here.
You muted yourself, Kyle.
Sometimes that's better for everyone.
Oh, we like your voice.
Alright, and then here's Ryan and Susie.
Okay,
Would the person that's the 702 number just identify who it is so that we have you for the minutes? Okay, alright, thanks John.
okay, I don't see Brian yet.
Brian, you're here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, I see your picture, thanks. Okay, it is 4:01. I'd like to call to order the White Pine County Tourism and Recreation Board meeting, November 24th. And we're having this on Zoom and also at the Convention Center. Kyle, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kyle, who do we have on Zoom?
On Zoom, we have Caroline McIntosh, myself, Ian Bullis, Marietta Henry, Brian Goinger, Errol Porter, Michelle Beecher, and John Gianoli.
Perfect.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to do agenda item number 1, public comment. Let's start with the public that is in the Convention Center first, and we'll get this organized that way.
Hi all.
Nope, Janet, come on up.
Oh really? Come
Oh
on.
yeah, come on
I
up.
don't, okay.
Speak into the microphone.
No, I don't. I'm just gonna mumble anyway. All right, this is a quick update about the museum. Our Cherry Creek Depot has been completely painted, and we had volunteers, Bill and Peter Holt. They spent several weeks working on it. It looks great. If you haven't seen it, you need to go by. And then Bill Holt is going to start on the caboose when the weather allows. And we received a Nevada Tourism Grant for publicity, and we're finalizing our radio ads. Ken Rash and John Charchalis from here are working on one ad, and then I know a jingle writer from Vegas, his name's Peter Rad, he's going to be working on another one, so hopefully we can have 2 completely different ones. And they should be ready here in the next few days. I think our first one will go, I believe it's December 14th. And then the Sunny Martin Cabin has been completed with funds we raised at our 2019 Beer and Bacon event. And this weekend we should be able to completely get the display up and running and done. And hopefully that'll be ready for viewing by next week. And even though, despite the coronavirus, our visitor numbers are okay. They're not great, but we're all right with what we got considering. And we're using all the safety practices necessary for our visitors. January 9th at 2 p.m. we're having our annual membership drive, and Anthony Itheraldi will be our speaker. He's donated 3 of his water war artwork to the museum that we have up on display, and he's going to be talking about his artwork, and I believe those pictures he's donated in particular. We'd like you all to come if you can. And then also several of our officers are terming out, and we're looking for more board members and hopefully more membership, and then we're looking for board members also. So if you're interested, please come down. Thank you.
Thanks, Janet.
Thanks, Janet. Do we have any other public comment from the audience in the convention center?
George is coming up to the computer.
Okay, welcome, George.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, on your agenda item, Roman numeral 2, item 9, to discuss the possible adoption of resolution in the transfer of the State of Nevada building at the Nevada Northern Railway National Historic to the City of Ely and the Nevada Northern Railroad Foundation. I'm completely against that. I want to remind you that Sean Pitts is well qualified, a historian. If anything, we should support the state keeping that facility. I want to remind you that the railroad itself has not done that well. They've failed to answer questions. They don't operate under the Nevada Open Meeting Law. I want to remind you of items that I've submitted to you back in August, again in September and October. That the Nevada Northern Railroad continues to get additional grant money from this board in addition to $240,000 it receives in room tax. Again, they are not operating under the Nevada Open Meeting Law, and the citizens, the taxpayer, cannot see how the monies are spent. Again, they need to be cut off and held accountable. I want to remind you that Mr. Bassett manages the property and his wife is the bookkeeper. We can't have nepotism. NRS will tell you that. I've also told you at a previous city council meeting held on September 19, 2019, the railroad was seeking to borrow approximately $450,000 for what? We do not know. They have yet to report what their total debt is, and I've asked if any of the members know. No answer to date. I want to remind that the city councilman, Kurt Carson, should know and is yet to disclose. He has a responsibility there. I've told you about the recent rumors that I've reported to you that tens of thousands of dollars have been embezzled from the railroad. Again, is it true or is it not? I've also heard rumors the railroad has purchased Abbott Way. Is that true or not? If they did, where did they get the money? Was it borrowed and from who? Again, those questions should be answered, and we're going months, and I'm going to submit that to you folks. Madam Chairman, I want to remind you that the new parking lot at the convention center is complete, evidently, but it does not have minimum ADA requirements. That walkway in the center that was taken out needs to be put back in. The light that's on private property has to be removed on the city right-of-way. I'm going to submit that request again. Madam Chairman, the money that was given to the community choir for pigeon control needs to come back to this board. I told you about NRS forbidding private donations. You can't support private entities. I'm going to resubmit that again. I think that's going to make it the third or fourth time. Madam Chairman, I've yet to receive any information on whether or not any board member is also board member of the Railroad Management Board. I think I've
That's 3
requested that 3
minutes.
times.
Thanks, George.
I need some answers, ma'am. It's been a
Thank
long
you,
time.
George. Thank you. Anybody else in the audience at the convention center?
Wayne's coming up. Yeah.
Okay, welcome,
Hi.
Wayne.
Good morning. I'm here just to tell the board thank you for the decorations for the sculpture park. We've almost got it completed. And then also on item number 9, speaking for myself as executive director, I'm very much in support of that resolution. So thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Anyone else in the convention center?
No, that is everybody here in the audience.
Okay, I want to open it up for public comment from our guests in the, at this meeting. Michelle, do you have a comment?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, this is Michelle Beecher, Ely City Council member and member of the Nevada Northern Railway Board of Directors. I just wanted to speak for a moment on item 9. As you may know, the City Council voted to approve this measure at last week's meeting, and I just kind of wanted to touch on a few things. I don't need to remind you all that the railroad is a cornerstone of tourism in White Pine County. And while we are so appreciative and so thankful for all that the state and their people and Sean Pitts have done while they have had these buildings, As the consensus of the council that it would be best now for the railroad to have a single cohesive feel. You know, in these uncertain times, it brings into question the state's budget, and unfortunately, the Ely Train Museum certainly won't be a priority for state funding. The Nevada Northern Railroad already manages many, many buildings on the property, and they could pretty seamlessly take these in as well. They're also manned with the manpower to fully cultivate and utilize these buildings to their full potential. They have a huge network of members and donors who have an active interest in seeing the Nevada Northern Railway reach its full potential, and to see these buildings put to the use that will maximize the tourist's experience here. So I just wanted to come and state how much in favor I personally and the city council were of that last week, and ask for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other public comment from those on Zoom or calling in? Is that Mr. Gianoli? Is that you calling?
Absolutely. Can you hear me all right?
Can you speak up just a little bit, John?
Can you hear me all right?
You're just a little bit low. If you can speak up a little more.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, this is John Gianoli, calling in and addressing apparently item number 9 on the agenda. First thing I want to mention is I appreciate your time, and I appreciate service you're giving to our community by serving on this board. It's a little bit disquieting doing this over the phone, but we'll do our best. This board, the Tourism and Recreation Board, has many difficult decisions to make. Fortunately, the approval of this resolution on item number 9 is not one of those. I would like to thank the state for the efforts that they have made over the last 30 years, but it is time for a change. The state is incapable of having a standalone facility there. Without the help of the foundation, they could not make it as an autonomous entity. They have basically no parking, no handicap parking. The foundation, of course, owns Avenue A, which is part of the complex. So the state is pretty much has to rely upon us in order to continue. In reference to the 2 buildings coming back to the foundation, I perceive this as a win-win-win issue. The first win is it's good for the state. The state is going to be suffering some very difficult fiscal issues going forward. I believe the governor has talked about a 12% cut. I've talked to others over there, talked about 15. When it's all said and done, it could be more than any of those numbers. And one of the problems is, though museums are a very important entity in our state, they're not mandatory, and they will be one that will be on the chopping block. And unfortunately, when you're the isolated little entity out here, we're the ones who most likely are going to suffer the most. And accordingly, if the buildings come back to the city and the foundation, that's approximately a $300,000 savings for the state. It was $600,000 over the biennium. The second win is for the locals. I think that if these buildings are transferred back to the city and the foundation, this will make for a much more seamless operation. This will help greatly in improving our tourism efforts, which, as we all know, people have been around for a significant amount of time in our community. We've been trying to diversify that economy for a long time, and tourism is really the spearhead in trying to do that. Lastly, the final win would be on part of the foundation. Again, this would make for a much more seamless operation. I think the foundation has the manpower, they have the resources, and they have a proven record of success in dealing with that complex. So I think there are some major improvements that can be made down there if this was under one umbrella. And so I would definitely endorse that. And lastly, I would like to
We're
thank
at 3
the board
minutes.
for your time and consideration. And I wish I were there, but I would like to wish each and every one of you a healthy and traditional Thanksgiving and during these difficult times. So go out and celebrate this, and God bless the America. Thank you.
Thank you, John, very much. Do I hear any more public comment from the audience calling? Oh, yeah, Mr. Horvath has a public comment to read.
So there were 18 letters submitted to the convention center over this last week in support of the transfer of the buildings for the Nevada Northern Railway, or from the state to the Nevada Northern Railway. They're all the same letter. They've been emailed to you, scanned and emailed. I'm going to submit these to the public comment, but I'm just going to read one of them and just know that all 18 of them are the same verbiage, just signed by different people. I'm writing to voice my support of the proposed resolution of the White Pine County Board of Tourism and Recreation supporting the return of the East Ely Railroad Depot and the East Ely Freight Depot at the Nevada Northern Railway National Historic Landmark back to the City of Ely and the Nevada Northern Railway Foundation. As a local citizen, I have watched our local railroad foundation grow, and I'm very impressed with what they've accomplished. I especially like the new sign, barrier, and light display in front of the railroad depot, and I'm very excited that they are restoring another one of our community's priceless steam locomotives. It seems clear that the best course of action is to have the entire Nevada Northern Railway National Historic Landmark complex, including the 2 buildings in question, owned, controlled, and managed by members of the local community through the City of Ely and the Railway Foundation. I believe this resolution will enable the Railway Foundation, the National Historic Landmark, and, by extension, the community's tourism industry to all realize their full potential. Thank you for consideration of my views sincerely. And like I said, there's 18 letters that mirror that, so unless you want to hear all 18, I think we're good.
Okay. Thank you, Kyle, very much for reading those into the record. Do I have any more public comment from Zoom or a phone call?
Madam Chairman, this is Mark Bassett. I'd like to public comment.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have been in charge of the railroad here for 18 years, and we have done amazing things here. Principally, we have raised and invested over $32 million in the complex. We are very aggressively writing grants, and we've had wonderful success with the grants. In the past time, we now have over 20 employees. We have added to our staff that includes an archivist, a person who has worked for the government in archiving records. He is now with our staff. We also have a curator who has a master's degree, and we're doing an excellent job of not only preserving the locomotives, the tracks, the buildings, but we also have an online archive that people can go to from literally around the country and around the world to examine the historic records of the railroad. Over the course of the past 18 years, our visitation has grown from just a few thousand people a year, that prior to COVID, we were approaching 30,000 visitors a year. We estimate that these visitors bring in about $3 million into the community. Transferring the 2 buildings to the foundation will allow us to develop those buildings, especially the freight depot. Number one question we receive is, where's the museum? That will become our museum, and we'll also keep it open for community events, weddings, and graduations and other events. So the fact of the matter is, this would allow, the transfer of the two buildings to us would allow us to grow and actually improve the railroad here. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mark, very much. Do I have any more public comment from the Zoom or phone calls?
Madam Chair, this is Chris Stanko.
Thank you. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all the members of the Board of Tourism and Recreation for your support of the community. This is Chris Stanko out here in Reno, Nevada, in the law firm of Mott & Cox and McCoy. I'm the Foundation's attorney, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the agenda item. Not to belabor points that other people have already made, but maybe to kind of hone in. I had heard at the City Council meeting, which I was present at, one member of the community there spoke of a little bit of concern about how the buildings would fit in with the current structure. And I would like this board to know that there's already a full and complete legal structure, for these buildings to fit right into. And that's the articles of the foundation, the bylaws, and also a development agreement the foundation has with the city of Ely. And so those priceless steam locomotives, all of the track up to Route and even to McGill, all of the buildings, they're all operated within that legal framework. So fitting these two buildings in would just be an extension of that. I think it's, the steam locomotives are priceless and the other assets are worth millions and millions of dollars. So this would easily fit into that. Additionally, the foundation is already fully staffed through Mark's aggressive efforts and smart planning by the foundation board. There has not been any layoffs of any personnel because of the pandemic. And then we have plenty of personnel to actually fill those buildings, and my understanding is from Mark, you could actually use the room and staff them right now. So in terms of marginal cost, it's going to be minimal. It's going to be all absorbed by the foundation, not the city of Ely, pursuant to the development agreement. And again, these are good buildings which fit right into the very thorough and extensive legal framework we have already in place for managing the entire complex. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members, for your consideration of the foundation's views.
Thank you, Chris, for those comments. Do I hear any more public comment from the Zoom or phone calls? Hearing none, let's move on. Thank you all for your comments at the Convention Center and online. Let's move on to number 2, new business. Item number 1, discussion and for possible action, approval of the agenda, including removal of agenda items. Any members want to remove any items? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Brian. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 2, discussion and for possible action, approval of minutes October 27th, 2020. I hope you've all had an opportunity to look at the minutes from our October meeting. And I do believe there might be from the approval of minutes from October 27th. I misspoke, sorry. Do I have any corrections or amendments to the meeting minutes from October? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
There's one from the audience. George?
Thank you. Madam Chairman, of the material I gave you, it's not reflected in the minutes, and they should be part of the record. We need to address that. More than once I brought that out, and more than once I've been ignored.
So pursuant to, and this is to the board, pursuant to open meeting law, if any member of the public submits their written comments, such as a transcript, we would attach that to the minutes, but we do not attach any type of exhibits or other documents to the actual minutes. Those do stay with Judy in her records, but they are not part of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for that legal guidance. All right, I entertain a motion for approval.
Make the motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Brian. Second.
I'll second them.
Moved by Brian, seconded by Marietta. All in, any more discussion on this? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, discussion only, review of the financial report. And Kyle, since most of us are online, if you'll give us a moment to
Absolutely.
Heather.
We will start with our first one that we normally do, which is the room tax collected by property. And I do want to spend a little bit more time on this one to kind of go over a few things, because we do have a couple new properties because of the Airbnb ordinance that the city passed. Does everybody have that document up?
Yes.
All right,
I do.
sweet.
Thank you.
So the short of it is, this is for October, and considering October still did very well compared to this time last year. The hotel motels collected over $1,300,000 in room tax, and so that allowed us from the hotel motels to remit $177,296.28. The RV parks and campgrounds were still doing very well. They collected over $138,000 in sales, which we collected $14,826.61. So the total room tax collected for October was $192,122.89. A lot of this has to do with the fact that construction for the NDOT project through Q&D, as well as the Judicial Center, was still going on. And so at a time normally when tourism is slowing down and you've got travel restrictions looming, the state investment really kind of saved our goose for the month of October, having all the contractors here. The other thing that helped is the addition of what you see is these 3 Airbnbs. Now, we did send all the letters out. Since then, there have been a couple new properties that have popped up. We did get one property say, oh no, that's not us, that's not our thing. Well, we did a little research and, oh no, that is them and that is their thing. And so apparently we have to check the honesty of some of our business owners. But we did get remittance from Bill and Carla's Townhouse, O'Flaherty Rentals, and OL Entup. And so we've been working with them to make sure they understand the forms, how to submit, and things are going well with that. So I'm just assuming more and more of those Airbnbs will start popping up onto this room tax report, and it certainly is helping during a time when we're starting to slow down. If you look at the comparison, which is this one right here, you'll see that because of the contract work and the investment from the state, as well as the addition of the Airbnbs, we are actually 6.3% above where we were this time last year for room tax collected. So certainly a positive thing going into the slow season. Because these are the October reports, when we look at the budget comparison, which is the next one that we'll go over, what you need to remember with a lot of these percentages, especially with the room tax collected, is we're only finishing, 40% of the year being in October. December's room tax would be half of the fiscal year, would be 50%. So when you look at the room tax collected from the city, we're at almost 60% of what we budgeted for at only 40% into the year. And when you look at the room tax collected in the county, we're at almost 83% of what we budgeted, going not even into 50% of the year. So the room tax collected, we're looking pretty good on. What that does is that covers up the lack of revenue in the convention center. Thank goodness we don't have a larger facility that we have to heat or light or deal with. We have had quite a few events that got on the calendar and then have just canceled because of obvious reasons. But you'll see in my director's report, we're already starting to fill up for 2021. And